This movie isn't about gang stalking, but some elements are very similar. There is stalking involved by a young boy and a married man. It serves as an illustration of what gang stalking campaigns against a female TI may involve. The movie is set during the time when Mussolini declared war on France and Great Britain. Renato was 12 and a half years old when he first saw Malena after getting his first bicycle. Renato rides to meet his friends who just fried an ant with the sun and a magnifying glass. He wants to show off his new bike. His friends are impressed and say that now he was a man. He asks if he could join the gang and all agree except one, who said he doesn't want a kid meddling in their business. Renato soon finds out what their business is when beautiful and curvy Malena walks by. The boys openly stare at her while muttering about how beautiful she is. Malena probably notices since they seem to be the only ones on the street. They watch her pass, then race to their bikes. They ride hard and fast to catch up to where she would pass again, and then stare at her yet again. Usual immature little boy behavior. Renato asks who she is, and his friend says that she's their new deaf Latin teacher's daughter. The next scene shows that the boys are in class, and one of the students points towards the bathroom and asks the deaf Latin teacher if he could sleep with his daughter in the most crudest way. Since the senior citizen Latin teacher can't hear and just sees the boy pointing to the bathroom, he says yes and hurry. The other students laugh. There's a scene where the boys are hanging out and one lies and says that Malena asked him to buy some cigarettes, then lets him see her naked. Renato thinks his friend is lying and makes fun of him. Yet in the next scene, Renato skips school to sit outside Malena's house waiting for Malena to ask him to buy cigarettes. Malena is a mature, adult, married woman, and these boys are being really disrespectful. Gang stalkers use kids in their campaigns. Like warlords who use child soldiers, these people will put their kids and other people's children in harm's way to hurt the target. The gang stalkers' children grow up in an environment where they're taught antisocial, cruel, and domineering ways of interacting with others. The boys' behavior in the film could be easily excused as boys being boys until you look at the whole picture of what is really happening. The kids are mimicking the most harmful parts of their parents' behavior, aren't being corrected, and therefore are actually causing harm to an innocent individual. Later on, you'll see how sometimes it's hard to tell the adults from the children. The kids should have been more respectful towards Malena and her deaf father, but since some adults in their community were just as disrespectful, the kids end up thinking their behavior is okay. In the movie, it may be funny, but as the story continues, the boys' behavior become more unacceptable. In the movie, there are less scenes of the boys gawking, but Renato continues to stalk and spy on Malena. This was probably allowed to tell Malena's side of the story. In gang stalking, since there are adult TIs, the kids are taught to disrespect and even dare to torment certain adults, especially those that are in vulnerable or helpless situations, similar to the ones TIs end up in. The gang stalking parents take their kids on their stalking trips and encourage the kids to participate. This way, the kids start young in learning the tricks of the trade. These kids probably practice on other kids, especially innocent, normal kids, and this may account for some cases of bullycide. Think the boys are bad? Wait until you meet some of their parents. Let's see where the boys get it from. There is a scene where Renato is getting a haircut when one of the adult males is talking about Nino's sexy new wife, Malena, and how he bets she's not sleeping alone since Nino was called to war. The other guys laugh about it. Just guys fooling around, right? In another scene, Renato sneaks out after curfew to spy on Malena. He climbs a tree and peeks through a hole in her window. He watches her most personal moments, then he goes and buys the same record she was dancing to and pretends to be with her. Renato is not the only one with voyeuristic tendencies, as you'll see later on. He writes her a letter the next day about how the town gossips about her having a secret lover, but he knows that after her husband, he's the only man in her life. He throws the letter away, but he's not the only delusional male that thinks he has a relationship with Malena. These made-up relationships are a normal part of growing up, but when a grown man has these delusions and start to believe it's real, things can get dangerous and messy. There's a scene where Malena is at the unemployment office and the town is gossiping about it. The males are lewd and the females catty. It seems that no one in town will hire Malena for reasons unknown. As she's walking through town, the males are gawking at her, although she's a married woman. One married man stops, pretending to greet her, then lewdly kisses her hand and looks to see if the others are watching. Malena seems upset from all the unwanted attention. A female yells that the show is over when Malena is out of sight. In another scene, Malena is walking down the street and the females are saying nasty things about her while the guys gawk. Almost everybody is staring at her. Some of the senior females suggest that she's a prostitute. It doesn't seem that these females know or even speak much to Malena. When Malena's husband reportedly dies in combat, instead of pity, the gossips are saying more nasty things, especially about how she'll be looking for a new man. The males gossip and joke about how she's messing around with a married man and many others. The females do the same and call her a whore. Renato goes to pray for a saint to protect Malena from the town's people. In youth, almost everybody had a crush and a friend who swore the crush smiled at, noticed, or liked you back, even though in reality that wasn't true. That was part of the fun of being young. Like Renato, most of us could tell reality from fantasy and keep our behavior and expectations in check when interacting with that person. Unfortunately, there are some people who keep this up without recognizing or accepting reality. They become delusional adults who believe that just because they like, want to be friends, or have some kind of relationship with someone and their friends agree or approve, that they have the right to force themselves on the person regardless of whether the person of interest wants a relationship or not. Meet the gang stalkers and other psychopaths. Unfortunately, similar to the townspeople, when individuals with these tendencies unite or get together, what is normal, bad human behavior becomes something else. The aggregation of these individuals and their sadistic tendencies becomes deviant, inhumane behavior that could lead to activities that could destroy innocent lives. That's what happened to Malena in the movie and to T.I.'s in real life. It's obvious now where the kids learned their bad behavior. Without really talking to Malena, the townspeople made up some nasty lies about her or believed the lies. Their behavior was just as bad or worse than the kids. In an earlier scene, Renato's friend lied about Malena trying to seduce him, and although Renato acted like he didn't believe it, he skipped school the next day to see if the same thing would happen to him. In the adult's case, there were married males telling lies about having affairs with Malena. This had a more serious effect on Malena's reputation. Similarly, TIs are lied on and false rumors are spread in a deliberately damaging way. Some people believe the lies and approach or behave inappropriately towards the TI. Similar to Malena, it is one person or one family against many. Most are those who the target doesn't know or knows little about, but who are fed lies and misinformation about the target. Renato goes to Malena's house to spy on her while she's still in mourning. She comes out but thinks someone is watching her. When she returns to the house, Renato steals her underwear that was hanging out to dry. An anonymous letter is sent to Malena's father saying that she's a whore sleeping with the whole town. Malena was dating a single lieutenant and invited him for dinner one night. The dentist, who was rumored to be having an affair with Malena, showed up at her house and tried to fight the lieutenant for supposedly seeing his fiancée. Malena is in the house and doesn't know what's going on outside. The dentist's wife shows up with the cops to catch him cheating. The whole town is talking and calling Malena a whore and a homewrecker. They think that this incident confirms the bad rumors about Malena. Her father was forced to quit his job, and Malena could be taken to court for adultery. She faced possible jail time. She had no money but had to get a lawyer. Malena hires an unattractive lawyer and goes to court. In court, the town realizes that the dentist made up the affair and he is sent to a psychiatric facility. He was probably the main one spreading lies about her sleeping around. The lieutenant was transferred to another country and denied romantic involvement with Malena. The unattractive lawyer used the situation as an excuse to rape her and force her to date him. Malena is found innocent, but the females won't sell her good food at the markets, and the males won't hire her for fear of their wives. Malena has to have some guy bring her food. She runs out of money, and he makes an indecent proposal. Her father is killed during a bombing, and Malena is desperate and turns to prostitution. The townspeople keep staring and talking bad about her. When the war ends, the females run into the hotel where Malena was staying, drag her out, and beat her. TI's family members and or friends are harassed or turned against the TI. TI's romantic relationships are deliberately ruined, and some gang stalkers lie about having relationships or certain interactions with the TI. Gang stalkers use isolation and financial devastation to try to force the TI into criminal or socially unacceptable behavior. They make up lies, then try to maneuver situations in the TI's life that will lead to the actual event happening. The gang stalker's lies come before the sabotage and downfall. The gang stalkers pick a target, then take turns trying to provoke or force the TI to behave the way that they want. They try to take over and destroy innocent people's lives. Unfortunately, some members of the criminal administration system are involved and false accusations are made, but since not everyone in the criminal administration system is involved, there are cases where the truth is revealed and the TI is released, as in the case with Malena. The gang stalkers are mostly covert aggressives, but they can be violent. Many TIs have reported all kinds of assaults by members of the gang stalking network. There are also reports of gang stalkers stealing or destroying the TI's personal items and property. Many of the gang stalkers think that they are above the law, but the law, though sometimes slow, usually catches up with them. Once the TI is isolated and discredited, that's when the gang stalkers try violent acts, thinking that no one is going to believe the TI. This is similar to what happened to Malena. Thankfully, there are cases where the TI is justified, and as gang stalking is exposed, the extent of damage done by gang stalking will be known. Malena leaves town. Her husband is still alive, comes back from war, and the town folks won't talk to him and are very disrespectful. Renato sends him a letter briefly explaining what happened with no details except that his wife loved only her husband no matter what happened. Nino finds Malena and brings her back to town. They walk through the town square and everybody is shocked but still gawking at her. She goes to the market, and the main female, whose husband lied on Malena about having an affair with him and started the beating, said hello to her almost as a challenge to see if she would say hello back. She does, and the female smirks a little. Then, all of a sudden, everyone is nice to Malena, greeting her and offering her the best or free stuff. The TI is stalked wherever she or he goes, so many face homelessness, displacement, and or are constantly moving. TIs who own their own homes have more stable living situations, but still face constant harassment similar to Malena's situation. The strange thing that most TIs experience, similar to Malena at the market, is that some gang stalkers try to be nice or help the TI after they have worked so hard to destroy the TI's life. It's insincere, and most TIs who accept a gang stalker's help end up getting hurt in some way. The movie gives a good illustration of what female TIs may face. Though there is a general theme to gang stalking campaigns, each campaign is different, and a feedback method is used to make the campaigns more specific to the TI. Some TIs may face situations that others don't. Some female TIs may be perceived to be more vulnerable to the same situation as Malena's than others. Not all TIs will go through that, even though they may go through some of the same things as Malena. Malena's an example of the worst cases, but some elements of her ordeal is applicable to most gang stalking campaigns against females. Did Malena have to go through all that? No. One, gossip is petty. Two, gossips are annoying. A network of gossips, united and reinforcing each other's lies and half-truths, is dangerous, especially if some are in powerful or advantageous positions. Look at the damage done to Malena's life and how the town's gossips' activities isolated, pressured, and practically forced her to make bad decisions. Gang stalking methods have a lot in common with the sex trade and human trafficking industry or crimes, whatever you want to call it. Both males and female TIs are at risk for these crimes, but children and females face a greater risk. This isn't to say that all TIs end up like Malena. For every TI who is speaking up, and raising awareness, many more are silenced and or don't even know that they are being targeted. When gang stalking is seriously investigated, then the extent of damage done by these covert and horrific campaigns will be known.